Good morning. Oh, I'm tired, but it is a good morning. It's 4:44 a.m. I have a busy day ahead of me. I had a busy day yesterday, and I'll have a busy weekend actually. Uh, but I'm pleased to get up and share this with you. The title of today's uh, video is "What If You and Mr. Sino Are Being Used?" Most comments relating to my video about Mr. Sino were positive and uplifting. Thank you for those, as well as the ones that surprised me, including those emails I received in regard to that video that were critical, some of which raised legitimate concerns. Let me do my best to answer some of the hard questions about things that still trouble people with the whole UN Swiss-Indo scenario. These will include accusations that it is a Jesuit plot, and issues relating to hierarchy and using money at all for any new system. Where to begin? Indeed, there are legitimate concerns, legitimate questions. And then there are people who just simply will, reject anything that would present any kind of solution because of various reasons. I mean, there's just people that are wired to be critical and obstinate, I think. And anybody that I perceive that's in that state of mind, I will not take time to answer. But there were people that raised legitimate concerns. Karen Hudes, as I mentioned in that video, claims that the whole thing is a plot of the Jesuits. And I would venture to say that any changes that are made on this planet are going to involve some of the people that have been responsible for the old world order, the system that has been corrupted and manipulated, and it is a system of slavery that enslaves humanity and imprisons them, us, in debt. There's not going to be any system that's going to be created that is a bridge without making a leap to something brand new, which I don't think is practical or even possible, without destroying completely the world and starting over. There's going to be people that are Illuminati or Jesuits or Zionists or any other of these groups that have liked and benefited from the old world order, from the old paradigm, the old system. There's going to be some of those, and some of them are going to be legitimately repentant. They're really wanting to see something new, including some of the younger generation of the Illuminati families, the hidden hand that have been behind things, and including probably some of the extraterrestrials that have been involved in human politics for a very long time, whether we want to admit it or not. That's probably the reality that we're going to have to come to grips with as a human family sooner or later. We're going to have to face the fact that what has gone on here on Earth is a whole lot more important, and there's been a whole lot more players involved than are just terrestrial human beings. There are people, beings, from other planets, galaxies, star systems, whatever you want to call them. There are angelic realms and probably demonic realms. But both angelic and demonic realms are under Prime Creator, Prime Source. Going back to the very beginning, it all had to originate with one, and ultimately we need to come back to the realization that we are one, that we are interconnected in a web of life, and it is a singular web of life. The illusion and all of the the illusion of the separation, I should say. When I say illusion, I mean separation, because to me that's the only real illusion, is that anything is separate from anything else. But that illusion has really, really played havoc with our DNA, with our perception of reality, with every phase of our human existence. We have been influenced by the polarization caused by the illusion of separation. And having physical bodies, there's probably not any way that you can avoid that from occurring, because we don't, with our physical senses, we don't perceive the interconnectedness of things. We don't perceive the field in which everything exists. So it doesn't bother me that Jesuits or Illuminati or even Zionists will have a role to play in the restructuring of our planetary system that will allow greater advances in the evolution of human consciousness and the spiritual development of our planet, because technologically we've advanced a lot further even than we're aware, because the elite establishment has held back some of the advances and not shared them with the people, using them for their own benefit, which is part of the old system. And the establishment of a new system has to deal with accountability, first and foremost of all. Individuals need to be accountable for their actions. When they harm others, they're going to need to have there needs to be a price to pay. There needs to be retribution for that of some sort. And what was the word that somebody gave me the right word, and it's not retribution, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'm not going to rack my brain trying to think of it. In any case, Mr. Sino set the stage very nicely when he called this worldwide meeting in which I was invited, by apologizing to all of us and any of us that he has harmed, that he may have harmed or hurt or disappointed in any way. He showed himself as a humble monarch. Now bear in mind, he traces his lineage back to King Solomon. And remember, King Solomon had many wives and many concubines and many children. And he was the house of David, and the house of David biblically was to be the house of rulership or of kingship. It never occurred in the Bible time. After Solomon, the whole kingdom fell apart, and Solomon's children were scattered all over the world. And as I said, Mr. Sino, and as Aristo said yesterday, Mr. Sino comes from a long traditional line of shamanic priest kings that are very traditional. And part of that tradition is hierarchical. Now, one of the biggest catches for people, delegates and just people that are aware, is having hierarchy. Why do we need hierarchy? Why can't we all be equal? We really are equal. We hold these truths, or this truth, to be self-evident, that all men, women are created equal under the Creator. We all share in the same web of life, the same energy, the same force and source. We all come from that. We're all part of that. We all exist and have our being within that field, whether we can see it and perceive it in any way or not. That is the reality. But we're all in different places. We're all in different stages of our own awareness and of our own healing. We all have our own filters. And so it's very, very difficult to move from a structure that had hierarchy, that had authority, Oh boy. I didn't realize what was going on behind me until I heard it. It'll survive. It's just wax. Just as the money situation, money has been used to enslave us. Hierarchies have been used to enslave us. I have way less problem relating to Mr. Sino after watching him in action. His humility brought tears to all of our, I can't speak for everybody. It brought tears to my eyes, and I know it brought tears to many people's eyes that were there and observing what was going on. A humble monarch. Humility and authority must go hand in hand. Must. Or we will be right back in the arrogant hierarchy that we've always known. Now, there are people within the delegation that have been given titles: Prime Minister, CEO, Queen. I don't know if there were any kings. I think Mr. Sino holds that title by himself. And these are really hard things for people in the United States, for example, and most of the Western world to grasp, although not so much in Europe as in North America, or especially the United States. Uh, we don't want kings. We revolted against kings. I get that. But we are each royalty ourselves. We are, spiritually speaking, a royal priesthood. We are children of God, which means if God is creator, we are creators. If God is sovereign, we are sovereign. Whatever God is, we are. But we don't know it, most of us. We're not there yet. We're not home. So there has to be some type of structure that allows us to evolve. A ladder, if you will, and ladders are hierarchical. One rung is above another rung. It's not that one is more important than the other, especially if you have the attitude of humility. And I see that in Mr. Sino. I felt that right off from the very get-go. I heard it about him before I met him, but meeting him, even though it was on a screen, on a computer screen, there was an energy that was transmitted and received that put my heart at ease. Personally, I don't want any titles. I mean, they are meaningless to me. I am simply a man who tries to listen to my heart and tries to live in integrity and tell the truth about whatever it is that the truth needs to be told about, where I am, recognizing my own weaknesses and my own strengths, recognizing my own evolved sense of being. And it is a developmental sense. Now, if I go back to the very essence, with me or anybody else, we're all the same. We're all from the same essence, but we're having this evolutionary creation process of becoming individualized. And that creates the need for the recognition that we do this each at our own pace, at our own level. It's not, again, hierarchical in the sense of one being better than the other. Only those that have humility, in my opinion, should be given any right to exercise authority, because they will take into account their connectedness to everyone else, as Mr. Sino does by recognizing that we are family. Now, the Illuminati failed because it didn't do that. It was cut off from its own consciousness, and it's the spiritual consciousness of humanity that has produced all of the problems, because people that took leadership positions did so because they wanted to have power. They wanted to control resources and people. They wanted to own everything. There's only under 100 people on the planet own over 50% of the world's resources. Over 50%. less than 100 people. This has to change. Now, people say, as long as you introduce money, and I've done into this in many other videos, as long as you have money, you're going to have corruption. We recognize that the monetary system or the economic and financial system has been used to enslave people. It has been a debt system. It has been a system that has been corrupted every which way. Admit that. It's the truth. That doesn't mean that there cannot be a benevolent use of whatever means of exchange we use. Now, I applaud all of those communities throughout the world, and there are many, that are creating local endeavors that are self-sufficient and don't need money. I applaud that effort. And I do believe that ultimately the whole earth will be able to be there. But we're not there yet. And any global change will have to involve money, at least in the interim, until enough people can wake up and until we get enough people that are wise enough and mature enough to hold positions of authority without it going to their head and without them thinking that they have a right to boss other people around. But let's face it, look at my grandson. He says, "You can't boss me. You're not my boss. You can't boss me, Poppy." He's 5 years old. He's almost six. He'll be 6 on George Washington's birthday. By the way, that's his birthday, and he loves George Washington because that's his birthday. He talks about George Washington frequently, as a matter of fact. But he doesn't have enough experience under his belt to be able to use his energy wisely. And he's constantly throwing tantrums and demanding his own way and trying to tell other people what they can and can't do. I mean, he's 5 years old. But listen to me. That's a lot of humans that are adults that are the same way. They don't express it the same way as he does. They don't necessarily throw tantrums, at least not in public, because they're phony. But the same energy, the same mentality exists there. And this needs to be evolved. This needs to be evolved. I can't expect my 5-year-old grandson to act mature like an adult and to use wisdom in all of his actions. He's a little kid. And there are many adults that are little kids mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They might have great intellects, some of them, but they're totally out of balance and out of whack. We need to have a system that allows people to develop their gifts, talents, and abilities, and their awareness of who they are and of how things are interconnected. We have a long way to go. I don't think that what UN Swiss Indo is doing is the end of the road, as I expressed in that video, but it's a step in the right direction. Even if the Jesuits are involved, even if there's hierarchy, even if there's still money, even if there's still some of the rudiments of the old system involved and incorporated into the new system, they are a bridge. They are a transitional state to take us to where we need to go so that we can ultimately come to a place where we're all truly free. And we're truly free because we all come into our own power and our own sovereignty and our own authority, and the golden rule will then work, the real golden rule that we will do unto others as we would have others do unto us. It won't be the false golden rule of he who has the gold makes the rules, but that may be a transitional phase that we need to go through. So anyway, I hope I've cleared up some of the concerns that people have, and I ask you, even if you can't see it all right now, put it on hold in the back of your mind and allow the possibility that God is working through humanity, through mankind, and maybe even some extraterrestrials and stuff, to help us create a system that is a step in the direction of making life better for everybody and creating a world that works for everyone. Thank you for listening, and namaste.